Tangent lines to a circle. A tangent line will intersect a circle at one point. That means that the tangent line is perpendicular to the radius of the circle. Example 1. Is KJ tangent to the circle P at J? So the question that we're asking, is this line here, KJ, tangent? If it is tangent, then by definition, this angle must be perpendicular to the radius. So what we want to identify is the measure of angle KJP 90 degrees. We have a right angle triangle, or we're trying to identify if it is a right angle triangle. So we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. 9 squared plus 6 squared is equal to, well, we're not sure, so we're going to put a question mark over it, 6 plus 4 squared. So we want to simplify and see if the left side is equivalent to the right side. When we simplify, we get 81 plus 36, which is equal to 100. When we add the left-hand side, we get 117, which is not equal to 100, so therefore KJ is not tangent. If it were, it would have created a 90-degree angle. If we have two segments that have a common endpoint, so in this case our common endpoint would be A, and that endpoint is on the outside or exterior to the circle, if they are both tangent to the circle, then the line segments are congruent. So I've identified AB, which is congruent to AC, by the little hash marks. Now remember, if they are tangent, then that means that we've actually created two right angle triangles. For example 2, we're given a diagram. TB is congruent to TC, which is equal to 3. We also know that AT is congruent to AT by the reflexive property, which means that AB must be congruent to AC by CPC TC. Congruent parts of congruent triangles are congruent. So therefore, and if AB is equal to 4, then AC is also equal to 4. Segment ST is tangent to circle with center R. What is the radius of circle with center R? This notation here might be new. That is a circle with a little dot on the inside, and it means circle, and then the letter beside it is the name of the center of the circle. Well, if we know that ST is tangent, then we know that there is a right angle triangle. If I rewrite that right angle triangle, we have 24 on one side, x, which is our radius, on the other side, and x plus 18 for our hypotenuse. To solve for x, we're going to set up the Pythagorean theorem. So the hypotenuse squared, which is x plus 18 squared, is equal to 24 squared plus x squared. When we simplify the left-hand side, we need to FOIL because it is a binomial times a binomial, meaning two terms times another two terms. X times x is x squared, that's our f. Our O is the outer, so x times 18. So we get plus 18x, our inner, plus 18x. And our last is 18 times 18, which is 324. On the right-hand side, we have 24 squared, which is 576 plus x squared. To solve for x, we're going to bring everything to one side. So when we subtract negative x squared, they'll cancel on both sides. When we add 18x and 18x together, we get 36x. And we will also subtract 324 from each side. We get 252. We divide both sides by 36. So x is equal to 7. Because x is our radius, we've now answered the question. In example 4, we're told that line M is tangent to the circle with center T at B. Line N is also tangent at C. What is the value of x? Well, if M and N are both tangent, then we know that the measures of angle TBA is equivalent to the measure of angle TCA, and they both have to be 90 degrees because they're tangent. If we want to find x, we're going to look at the inside of this as a polygon with 4 different sides. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. The sum of the angles of a polygon with 4 different sides is 360 degrees. Therefore, if we want to solve for the angle x, we will add x plus 90 plus 90 plus 135 and set that equal to 360. Then we will solve for x. We end up getting x is equal to 45. Now let's look at a question that's a little bit more complex. It's just very busy, but we know and have all the tools to be able to answer the questions. The first question says, is ray MP tangent to circle with center N? So the question is this 90 degrees? That's what we have to determine. If we look at the triangle on the right-hand side, let's add up the angles and see if they equal 180. 58 plus 33 plus 90, is that equal to 180? If we add up the numbers on the left-hand side, they actually add to 181. So that means that no, ray MP is not tangent. The second part of this question tells us that LK is tangent at L. So that means that we know that there's a right angle triangle. So if I redraw this triangle, the hypotenuse will be x minus 1 plus 9. We will have 9 on one leg and x plus 5 on the other leg. If we're trying to find the length of Kn, we first need to find what x is. So we'll use the Pythagorean theorem. We have x plus 5 squared plus 9 squared is equal to x plus 8 squared. We'll expand both sides by FOILing the binomials. On the right-hand side, x times x is x squared. Inner is positive 8x and outer is positive 8x for 16x, and 8 times 8 is 64. On the left-hand side, we will expand the x plus 5 and then add that to 81. X times x is x squared. The inner and the outer are both 5x, so together that's 10x plus 25, and then plus 81. The x squares on each side will simplify and cancel each other out. If we bring the x squared from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, we would subtract x squared from both sides. Then we have 10x plus 106, which is equal to 16x plus 64. I'll bring the x's to the right-hand side. So if we subtract 10x, we end up getting 6x. And if I subtract 64 from both sides, we get 42. Divide both sides by 6 and we get x is equal to 7. We take x is equal to 7, we plug that into x minus 1, so we get 6. So that means that kn is equal to 9 plus 6, which is 15.